Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Marriage, Politics, and Sports. It's your favorite baby boomer here. Hold on for a second. Listen, I'm your favorite baby boomer. And listen, MTG is surprising the world now. Listen, I was never a Marjorie Taylor Greene fan. I never really paid that much attention to her. I know she said some wacky things in the past. She was pretty much on the equivalent of being on a Maga plantation. And she said a lot of crazy stuff. But she started to mature in her position, as a congresswoman. And lately, in the last year or so, she started to say things that I could actually agree with. And I think this breakup with Trump is a major, major issue for President Trump. I think he's starting to step in it a lot lately. The momentum he built up in the first 6 or 7 months, it's almost like he's self-sabotaging himself with some of the things he's saying. I don't have any problem with him being mad at those representatives who are seditious in nature. But even that, you can't just be triggered just to let the first thing that comes to your head get put out on social media. That's really stupid, because the real point is that they're trying to sow seeds of doubt in the armed forces, and nobody should be able to get away with that. But the Republicans are losing it in a lot of ways, because both Pritzker and Brandon Johnson should be under investigation for sedition, because they're in open rebellion against the federal government, kind of like the slave states right before the Civil War. So, but let's get back to Marjorie Greene. I have her, I guess her resignation letter, her resignation presentation that, I'm gonna just react to. And, I think this is a huge rift in the MAGA movement, and not just the MAGA movement. I just think in the, because everybody who followed Trump or voted for him, like me, I wasn't a MAGA guy. I just didn't want the Democrats to be in a White House. So I voted for him. I would have voted for any Republican for that matter. But I think what she has to say is pretty poignant. And I think he made a major mistake alienating this woman, not just because it's her, it's because it just shows the cracks are forming. And I think, how you doing? I just think he made a major mistake. So we're going to go ahead and let her speak, and then I'll react to it, and we'll see what happens. So I didn't know I liked this woman. I think she has something up her sleeve, and good for her. But let's see what she has to say. All right, let's do it this way. Okay, let's get started.
I've always represented the common American man and woman as a member of the House of Representatives, which is why I've always been despised in Washington, D.C., and just never fit in. Americans are used by the political industrial complex of both political parties, election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans to hate the other side more. And the results are always the same. No matter which way the political pendulum swings, Republican or Democrat, nothing ever gets better for the common American man or woman. The debt goes higher, corporate and global interests remain Washington's sweethearts, American jobs continue to be replaced, whether it's by illegal labor or legal labor by visas or just shipped overseas. Small businesses continue to be swallowed by big corporations. Americans' hard-earned tax dollars always fund foreign wars, foreign aid, and foreign interest. And the spending power of the dollar continues to decline. The average American family can no longer survive.
Let me stop it right there. When she talked about foreign aid, our dollars going out. Now, the everyday average American doesn't know why we have to, the government makes a lot of political moves that they're not going to consult us with. But I think any man or woman, the average guy who's hurting out there, will find it hard pressed to say that all the moves and all the money that we spend is money well spent. It's not. I mean, like, for example, when we have people hurting, Nobody really understands why we sent $40 billion to Argentina. For what? For what? And to who? There's a growing number of people pissed off that Israel, has such a strong hold on every member of Congress, save a few. MTG is included. So there's a lot of things that our money is, and then with the illegals, I guess that's the straw that broke the camel's back, because even if you're, think that the America should be the, I guess the goddamn, homeless shelter for the world, those people cost money. And there's a pipeline for them to come in, and they came the wrong way. So, but getting back to her point, she's going to make some more points I thought was good. So far, I agree with some of the things she's saying. The foreign wars, man, forget about that shit. You attack us, and you draw first blood, we go kick your ass. But we shouldn't be funding all kinds of shit around the world.
On a single breadwinner's income, as both parents have to work in order to simply survive. And today, many in my children's generation feel hopeless for their future and don't think they will ever realize the American dream. And
okay, let me stop it there. Now, I'm a baby boomer, and I have a daughter. I had my kids when I was a little older. One is a millennial, and the other one's a Gen Z. And when we have conversations, this is exactly what they're saying. I'll never be able to buy a house. And they got good jobs, by the way, relatively speaking. And they said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I can see the price of the houses. And I told them, listen, it's not really a flex just to have a house to live in. But, the truth of the matter is I was able to buy a house on my salary when I was in my 20s. There's no way that they would be, and one salary, by the way, well, two, right? Not to support it, but to get it, right? Because my wife retired, and I used her retirement money as a down payment. But I paid the bill fully by just my salary. But that was 100,000 years ago. Anyway, go ahead, MTG.
That breaks my heart. I ran for Congress in 2020 and have fought every single day, believing that Make America Great Again meant America first. I have one of the most conservative voting records in Congress, defending the First Amendment, Second Amendment, unborn babies, because I believe God creates life at conception, and I love to fight for the little guy. Strong, safe borders, I have fought hard for that. I fought against COVID tyrannical insanity and mandated mass vaccinations, and I've never voted to fund foreign wars with your hard-earned tax dollars. However, with almost 1 year into our majority, the legislature has been mostly sidelined. We endured an 8-week shutdown, wrongly, resulting in the House not working for the entire time. And we are entering campaign season, which means all courage leaves and only safe campaign re-election mode is turned on in the House of Representatives. During the longest shutdown in our nation's history, I raged against my own speaker and my own party for refusing to proactively work diligently to pass the plan to save Americans' health care and protect Americans from outrageous, overpriced, and unaffordable health insurance policies. The House should have been in session working every day to fix this disaster. But instead, America was force-fed disgusting political drama once again from both sides of the aisle on television every single day. My bills, which reflect many of President Trump's executive orders, like calling for a new census counting Americans only to draw new districts.
I mean, how many of you out there, and I didn't know, maybe I should have, but I never really thought about that they were counting, illegal aliens and people who were, if you just were a resident of an area, whether you were legal or not, they counted you in the census. I mean, how stupid can we be? I think we've become so comfortable with people breaking the rules in our country coming here that it's like you can't really put the toothpaste back in that bottle. I know Trump is trying to do it now, but it's like we lost the way. Nobody but Americans should have been counted in a census. That should have never been any kind of argument. That should have been bipartisan. She's going to say something else here, too. I think she said something about English being the official language. Now, I knew about that, but I was kind of crazy on how many people are against English being the primary language in America. So there should be some debate on that one.
Making English the official language of the U.S., making it a felony to medically trans a minor, and other bills like eliminating capital gains taxes on the sale of your primary home and eliminating H-1B visas. Just sit. They all sit collecting
Yeah.
dust.
So yeah.
That's how it is
So
for
let's
most.
stop it again. I'm stopping it a little bit a lot because I want to take it one by one. The capital gains tax on the house, I agree with her there. Either eliminate it. I know you can get by it if you're going to buy another house, but there should be a break for that. Uh, um, the other one about the mutilation of children, I don't see how that ever became a thing. And that was one of the reasons why I had to vote the Democrats out of office. I'm wholly against that. I can't believe that, we went down that road where children are being mutilated by the medical industry, and people are just like fat, dumb, and happy about that. It's just crazy. Your kid wakes up at 3 years old, 4 years old, and says something stupid, and then we're putting them through a sexual transition. We would put a parent in jail if their kid was smoking cigarettes. They would get a hefty fine. If their kids would drink underage drinking, but they can go ahead and get their dicks cut off and, their breasts removed and shit like that as children. I mean, come on. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, where the hell were we going with that? Now, and this is another reason why I'm really mad at Trump. I know he's unhinged in a lot of ways, but he could lose the midterms. And if they lose the Senate, then forget about it. And I don't think they're gonna lose it, but they could. We should have had, decades of getting those crazy ass leftists out of power. But the midterms it's just gonna be chaos starting with the midterms.
Members of Congress bills. The Speaker never brings them to the floor for a vote. Many common Americans are no longer easily convinced by paid political propaganda spokespersons and consultants on TV and paid shills on social media, obediently serving with cult-like conviction to force others to swallow the political party talking points. Because they know how much credit card debt they have, they know how much their bills have gone up over the past 5 years. They actually do their own grocery shopping and know food costs too much. Their rent has increasingly gone up and up. They have been outbid by corporate asset managers too many times when they put in an offer to buy a house. They have been laid off after being forced to train their visa holding replacement. The college degree they were told to earn only left them in debt with no big six-figure salary. They see more homeless people than ever on their own community streets. They can't afford health insurance or practically any insurance, and they just aren't stupid. These are the people I represent and love because that is who all of my family and friends are, common Americans. I've been blessed to represent the 14th District of Georgia for 5 years. The district is filled with some of the most wonderful, kind-hearted, God-fearing, patriotic, hardworking people you will ever meet. Good, regular, common Americans. I've worked hard to bring taxpayer dollars back home to help district needs. I impeached Biden's Secretary of Homeland after watching my constituents die as he facilitated dangerous open border invasion into America. And I led the effort to defund hard left politically biased NPR and PBS and the corrupt USAID, and I did that as chair of the DOJ subcommittee. I have fought harder than almost any other elected Republican to elect Donald Trump and Republicans to power. I traveled the country for years. I spent millions of my own money. I missed precious time with my family that I can never get back. And I showed up in places like outside the New York courthouse in Collect Pond Park against a raging leftist mob as Trump faced Democrat lawfare. Meanwhile, most of the establishment Republicans who secretly hate him and who stabbed him in the back and never defended him against anything have all been welcomed in right after the election. And I will never forget the day I had to leave my mother's side as my father had brain surgery to remove cancerous tumors in order to fly to Washington, D.C. to defend President Trump and vote no against the Democrats' second impeachment in 2021. My poor father and my poor mother, it was way too much for all of us.
I know I'm stopping it. I just still can't understand why a disagreement, that the president, first of all, you campaigned on the Epstein files. And then, you should just let it happen. I mean, the people voted. And we went through the House and the Senate, and he had to sign it. It's like a law, the Epstein law. We got real things that we'd have to codify into law, but to let these stupid files, and it's still not over, right? Because it's still going to be up to Pam Bondi to decide what can be shown and like, for example, you can't really put the victim's name out there. So there's going to be some redactions there. Then some of the files are grand jury testimony. So that means that even if they're signed into law, there could be some judge somewhere. I think the one in Florida says, well, I'm still not, he still has to agree to allow grand jury testimony out to the public. So there's always going to be some part of the Epstein saga that's not going to be out there. And it's not going to satisfy the hungry mob. And here's my last thing on the Epstein thing, because I believe that people should be brought to justice. But with all of these 10 years, nobody has ever been mentioned in terms of going to jail besides Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein. And then I see all these victims coming out. And why don't they just name the names? Name some people's names. Now, if it's true, yeah, somebody might try to sue you and whatever, but name the names while we're going through this thing. You know who molested you. What's their names? What are their names? Why we got to go through all this shit? We got live victims. Live victims. Open your mouth and tell us who assaulted you. This is all bullshit. And I tell you, here's the kicker. I still don't believe anybody is going to do a perp walk. I really don't.
Through it all, I never changed or went back on my campaign promises and only disagreed in a few areas, like my stance against H-1Bs replacing American jobs, AI state moratoriums, debt for life 50-year mortgage scams, standing strongly against all involvement in foreign wars, and demanding the release of the Epstein files. Other than that, my voting record has been solidly with my party and the president. Loyalty should be a two-way street, and we should be able to vote our conscience and represent our district's interests because our job title is literally representative. America first should mean America first and only Americans first, with no other foreign country ever being attached to America first in our halls of government. Standing up for American women who were raped.
Okay, let me stop on America first. This one I agree with 100%. And one of the things I don't think, and I'm going to just bring race into this part of it because I'm black on this one. There's not enough black people saying what she just said. America first, not Africa, not this place, not that place. We live right here in this country, and we have dibs. You ever heard that? We have dibs. If America has anything great to offer, I feel that if I can get it, I should be entitled to get it if I earn it. We can't let the country go down because that's going to hurt all of us. And that's everybody, so I can't, so when we hear these people who can't stand this guy and America's this, and it's bullshit. We live here. If we ain't helping to make this place better, who's going to do it for you? So America first. And that's another thing Trump ran on, right? So I could agree with him trying to stop wars, but all the money to Israel, talking about building hotels on the Gaza Strip in the midst of a genocide. It's that on that one. Then the Epstein thing seeming to go back on his word, and then losing sight of the economy. Losing sight of listen, I tell my friends every year people complain about prices, but the messaging on the prices and how when the ease is going to come, it hasn't been a good one. I agree with Trump on the tariffs, right? Because we were getting hosed by the rest of the world in trade. We were getting their stuff with no tariffs, and they were putting heavy tariffs on our stuff. That was no equality. We shouldn't be doing that. So I know he's trying to rebalance that. So I don't agree. The Supreme Court has that case. So anyway, there's a lot of things that I thought that he has in motion, but then the mistakes are starting to come fast and heavy now, and calling for, even mentioning, offering some those congressmen the way he said it, even though I know what he meant, because I think they are traitorous. You can't just be calling for people to get offed. You just can't say. So he's making some huge mistakes in a recent month. Hasn't been a good month for the president.
At 14 years old, trafficked and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States, whom I fought for. However, while yes, hurtful, my heart remains filled with joy, my life is filled with happiness, and my true convictions remain unchanged, because my self-worth is not defined by a man, but instead by God, who created everything in existence. You see, I have never valued power, titles, or attention, in spite of all the wrong assumptions about me. I do not cling to those things because they are meaningless and empty traps that hold too many people in Washington. I believe in term limits and do not think Congress should be a lifelong career or an assisted living facility. My only goal and desire has ever been to hold the Republican Party accountable for the promises it makes to the American people and put America first. And I have fought against Democrats' damaging policies like the Green New Deal, wide open, deadly, unsafe border policies, and the trans agenda on children and against women. With that has brought years of nonstop, never-ending personal attacks, death threats, lawfare, ridiculous slander and lies about me that most people could never withstand even for a single day. It has been unfair and wrong, not only to me, but especially to my family, but it's been wrong to my district as well. I have too much self-respect and dignity. I love my family way too much, and I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms, and in turn be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me. It's all so absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better. If I am cast aside by the president and the MAGA political machine and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military-industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class that can never, ever relate to real Americans, then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well. There is no plan to save the world or a 4D chess game being played. When common American people realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country, and instead the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington, then
Well, do we? I mean, actually, do we? How did they get this way if the people actually had the real power? I think we ceded power a long time ago. I just think that from the two parties, they have both sides of the aisle in analysis. You got zealots on the left, you got zealots on the right, you got the independents, who are trying to pick government a la carte. But with a two-party system, Marjorie, even though you might have good intentions, if I vote for a Democrat, I'm voting for gender-affirming care. I'm voting for open borders. I'm voting for socialism. If I vote for the Republicans, even though some of the things that they say they want to do, they actually don't get them done. They actually don't get them done. It sounds good, but the executive orders haven't gone through the legislation to be codified. They did it quick on this Epstein bullshit, but what about the Department of Education that got dismantled? That shit's going to be reversed if it doesn't go through the House and the Senate and signed into law, right? So it's not going to happen before 2026. You know, if he loses the House, it's never going to happen. So I'm telling you, I mean, it's all bullshit. You know, no matter what we feel, I think we should still keep voting. But I think the government has already been lost. And I think the power elite already know it.
Be here by their side to rebuild it. Until then, I'm going back to the people that I love, to live my life to the fullest as I always have, and I look forward to a new path ahead. I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026. And I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future. May God bless you all, and may God bless America.
She got some plans. I know that. She definitely got some plans. There's no way that she's just going to cut out. You know, she got plans. Anyway, so I'm not going to be long on this one. Like I said, I wasn't a big fan of hers, but she grew on me over the years. She started saying things that I could agree with. And I think that Trump has made a huge, huge mistake. Not because Marjorie is some great woman. It's because he codified and solidified the fact by a battle with her that there's a big division in the Republican side of the House, the Maga movement and the independents that will swing if these guys are in disarray. And if they lose the House and keep the Senate, hey, no shit's going to get done. You know, and things are not going to get done. And, you know, now we're going to be looking at the 2028 presidential election. And I say that, you know, maybe J.D. Vance or Rubio still has a good chance to win that. But, you know, these socialists coming up, they're starting to say shit that resonates with people who are broke. You know, I think Mondani, believe it or not, is going to be running for governor of New York before it's all said and done. You know? Right. If they lose the Senate, man, he's definitely going to be impeached. I mean, but we're still going to have to go through a whole bunch of shit if they lose the House with the indictment itself. And nothing's going to get done. Absolutely nothing's going to get done. And I think the Republicans and Trump, with all the good shit that I think he did in the first 6 months, he's throwing it all away with these kind of battles, the Epstein files, because it seems like he has something to hide. And I don't think he's in them, but it's clear that he's protecting some big interests. And I don't think we're going to see anybody walk. And then when Pam Bondi is going to redact some of the information that was signed into law to be sent out there, because she still has to do that, people are still going to be upset, you know, with the fact that they're not getting every little single word. And I still have problems with the fact that all of these victims are coming forward and they won't name the names of the people who assaulted them. I don't know. I can't wrap my hands around it. Every time there's a sexual assault victim, they're the first one to say who did it. They're not worrying about, you know, reprisals and shit like that. If Mr. X, you know, essayed, you know, a young girl or that might be an adult now, just say who it is. Why are we going through all this Epstein file? Tell us who the hell assaulted you. I can't get past that one. Anyway, farewell to Margie. I think the Republicans have lost somebody who was a great ally. Anyway, with that, enough of me talking. I hate to see the fact that Trump might blow this shit, and we're going to be right back to cancel culture and all that shit. The Democrats get back in office, and the left, the far left of the Democratic Party in charge. People are going to get fired for saying the wrong pronoun and all that shit again. It's just going to be a mess. Anyway, what are you saying? Women have come out, saying Trump have assaulted them. Well, didn't Trump lose a case? 80 something million dollars. I mean, they did listen to at least one crazy ass woman that said he assaulted her 100 years ago. They listened to Stormy Daniels. They put her on the trial. So yeah, they listened to some of them, so it's not like they didn't listen to any of them, and they named his name. And so that's really the point. His name was out there and he went to trial. So all these people with the Epstein, I seen them in the press conference. There was a bunch of women and all that stuff out there behind a couple of lawyers. I said, well, just tell us the hell who assaulted you. Who? And it's just, I can't get past it. And I still haven't, all the intelligent people out there, I won't count myself as one of them. Nobody's telling me why they just won't name the goddamn people who assaulted them. Why? Shit. So if we're going to leave that up to the government, this just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So this shit ain't never going away. Trump should have never promised that shit on the campaign trail at all. Yeah, I know Trump is not on the list for the Epstein files, but who is? I mean, could tell you. Let me ask you. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody say something, right? If it's not, even if it's not Trump, don't the victims know who assaulted them? Don't they know the names? Right? They said there's a whole bunch of victims. They're not children anymore. They're grown adults. So how come they just won't say who did it? Can somebody help me? What am I missing? What am I missing? Okay, so even with I'm talking about the Epstein jail, all right? Okay, Epstein's dead. Ghislaine Maxwell's in jail. And there's a whole bunch of victims saying there's other people out there, but they won't name the names. Rick, but this not helping. Clinton, did Clinton touch any of these people? If he did, how come they're not mentioning his name? Forget about whose name is written in these goddamn files. There's real victims who are alive, who say they're victims. They're alive. They're walking around saying they've been victims, but they won't mention nobody's name. Okay? No, okay. No, Rick. What names did they mention? Did they mention names publicly? If they mention some people's name publicly, it would be written somewhere. Nobody could just shut you up like that, right? Somebody might have told them not to mention a name. I'll agree with you there. But if they actually mention some names in public, how come they're not all over the place? If they mention it on X, for example, did they take those posts down? Maybe the news media might not repeat it, but if they put it in print on social media anywhere, it would still be there unless they took those posts down. So I don't believe none of these. I just think it's all bullshit. They ain't mentioning no names. No, you just missing my point, man. You keep talking about the files, Rick. Hell with the files. If I'm alive, if these victims are alive, we got social media. They don't need the files. They should just mention the names from the rooftop. The hell with the files. If Mr. X, molested you, get a goddamn microphone and said, Mr. X molested me, and I want somebody to arrest him. So anyway, man, maybe I'm not getting anywhere with anybody, but listen, I believe there are people, but the fact is that we don't need the files. We got human beings who are alive who could say, hey, Mr. X molested me, Mrs. X was involved, and, I want them brought to justice, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to file a police report and all that kind of stuff, just like regular victims always do every single day. and tell me, oh, these are rich and powerful men, so I can't say their names. It's just bullshit, man. It's just really, really bullshit, man. Somebody, where's the names? And we don't need the files for the names. Yeah, okay. All right, man, listen. Trump and anybody's name being on these files is not equivalent to say that they sexually assaulted anybody. So let's elevate the conversation a little bit. Having your name in the file doesn't make you guilty of molestation of minors, right? And these minors are grown people now, grown people with lawyers, they're with the microphone. They could name, hey, Trump molested me, and on Epstein Island, on FDF Day or XE Day, or Clinton did, or some unknown guy from somewhere. They could just say it. You know, that's all I'm saying. You know, forget about why do we need the file? I mean, okay, we can have the files out there, but we have alive human beings, you know, who could say who molested them, and they're not doing it. That's what's frustrating me. You know, everybody's looking at these stupid ass files. We got human beings who are adults now. Who the hell molested you? God damn it! Say it from the goddamn rooftop. There you go. Prince Andrew, I think he was one of them, right? He lost everything, right? But he escaped justice. But there you go. There you go, right? And I believe he's guilty, and he's getting a pass, kind of. He lost all his royal titles. There you go. That's what I'm saying. He couldn't hide it, you know. So anyway, and look at that. What's the guy? Larry, the guy who just stepped down. Summers, I believe, he just stepped down because I think he's going to cocoon himself, because I think Sellers, maybe, I forgot, something like that. He's stepping down because there's more dirt on him than meets the eye, right? So, you know, these are the kind of things that we don't actually, you know, it's not just the files, it's actually what you did in those files that matters. So anyway, you know, I agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene on this. She was hard over on those damn files getting out. I wish she would have just said, hey, listen, we see all these victims. Just tell me who the names are. I wish, maybe I'm the only idiot who says that that's the way it should work. But, you know, maybe I'm watching too much SVU, you know, for 20 years. You know, maybe that's just television. You know, all the people in those rape cases, they actually name names. They ain't waiting for, they're not waiting for, you know, some files to be released. They said, Mr. So-and-so, you know, did this to me. You know, I don't know, man. Well, anyway, so I didn't even mean to rattle off at the jibs this long, but, you know, it's frustrating to see the momentum that was built up. And listen, I'm not a big Trump fan. I just try to tell people this. Trump was saying all the things and the policies that I liked, from the borders to, you know, to stopping the transgenderism, to saving Title IX, to getting the illegal aliens out, the tax breaks for, you know, tips and all of that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff I resonate with, you know, and I thought that was cool. Now, I can't vouch for the man's character, and unfortunately, he can't get out of his own way on a lot of shit. You know, if Trump was Vance, if it was Vance or Rubio who are president right now, with their personalities and their decorum, with the same policies, I think the Democrats wouldn't have a chance. They wouldn't have a chance. You know, but those men, you know, couldn't galvanize what Trump did. But right now, you know, I think he's so wrapped up in his own hubris that he's blowing. I really say he's blowing it. He should just shut up sometime. You stop being triggered by everything the Democrats do to you. You know, he should have never had this big argument with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Never. This shit should have never happened. You know, he should have just let her do what she did and just say, hey, listen, we just disagree. And that's it. Because she was a big ally. Listen, you can't just throw away allies. You really can't. She was a big ally for this dude, right? Yeah, I did look through. I didn't read it word for word, but I can't even stand the name of the big beautiful bill. I thought the name was stupid in and itself, but I think there was some good shit in there. You know, and it's not gonna, you know, the big beautiful bill is not gonna, you know, make everybody happy. You know, listen, you know, the bills that they passed when it comes to spending money, isn't it a bipartisan f up? Do we really think the Democrats would be better wards of the taxpayer money than the Republicans? They both take care of their friends on both sides, right? We're in the middle, right? I mean, that's where it's at. You know, I'm not happy with the way anybody spends our money, you know, especially on foreign wars and shit like that. I think we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You No, you can't say I clearly did. I did do. I did. I didn't read it. You know what? Here's you're kicking my ass about reading the big beautiful bill, right? And I skimmed through it. But you know what? You should be mad at the Congress people who voted on it, because I can guarantee you those assholes didn't read every line in that goddamn bill. You know, so you sitting out here, Dennis, getting on my case, and I can guarantee you that the people who voted on it didn't read it. You know, shit, man, come on. And you don't think Democrats give tax breaks and breaks to billionaires? Did you see the goddamn convention with all the billionaires in those sky seats in the Democratic convention, with the sacrifices of children on the outside, with those deletion vans on the outside of the convention, with Oprah Winfrey, the billionaire sitting on a dais? You know, it's an equal opportunity billionaire on both sides of the goddamn. Matter of fact, most of the billionaires in this country are Democrat liberals. Yeah, you know, you could check that out. Just get your iPhone or your Android and hit the AI thing and say, what political leanings are the billionaires in the United States? Do they lean more to the left or to the right? And I think you'll be surprised by the answer. You know, so anyway, man, you know, but listen, I don't care about the billionaires, and I hate corporate welfare. I can grant you that, you know. So that means we need to be frugal with the money that does flow down to the regular masses. And so you can't have sanctuary cities and spending money on people who are here illegally, because they cost money. They get sick. They need to eat. They need shelter. And they have no assets. Guess who's spending money on that? The poorest people in the United States, because they put those people in the poorest neighborhoods. You know, they overwhelm the schools that the poorest people are in, that are already overwhelmed. I don't know. I don't know, man. You know, America used to be a great country, even for the so-called disenfranchised. You know why? Because every so often a man with a dream was disenfranchised and he got himself out of it, or she got herself out of it. There was possibilities that your lot in life didn't have to stay negative for your whole life. Those possibilities are going away. That's what we should be afraid of. The little guy used to be able to, if he made the right choices, found the right avenues, worked smart, found the right networks, you were able to pull yourself out of the muck and mire. We had millions of stories like that. And that's just closing down. And we should all be concerned about that. Maybe not me, because I'm on the other side, right? I spent my time working. I did all that stuff when I had the opportunity to have a family and raise it with my salary. So I know what the young people are saying, that they can't do that today. I don't know, man. Listen, America is, and I hate to say it, we had a possibility of being I think the experiment was a great experiment, and I think we're starting to see it fall apart because of ideological bullshit that's happening on both sides, and we got to pick a side. I pick a side on conservative side because they don't have shit on the conservative side that I just can't deal with. I could deal with somebody being a strict Christian, right? But I can't deal with somebody saying a man with a dick could be in a female's locker room swinging his schlong in women's faces. I can't deal with that. I believe in Title IX because I was a young man when women fought for Title IX so they could have the opportunities to be great women they are today. And I can't see that being opened up and taken away the scholarships and all the things because a man has some kind of mental defect that he wants to be a woman now because life for women is really easier than being a man who has to earn his way. And so now he wants to take a scholarship away from women who have menstrual cycles every single month. I can't get with that. I can't get with open borders. Because whatever the United States was, you flooded with people from other countries. They're not assimilating to our way of life. They're bringing their shit with them. This stuff, man, I don't care if you're, the liberal is a dangerous goddamn thing, because everything goes. The heartstrings guide what you do. We're letting criminals back on the street. How about this guy who just finished burning somebody? He's been arrested like 30 times. And there's just 8 million stories where that came from. Come on. We seeing little roving bands of kids beating the shit out of women and their children on the street. Anyhow, listen, man, it's Saturday. Yeah. I don't feel like watching TV. So I'm on here talking to you guys, man. And Marjorie just, like I said, I go live every so often when it comes to me, right, on this channel. And since you're here, whether you stop, check out the other stuff on my channel. I have a bunch of stuff on here. You can subscribe as well. That's fine. Anyway, listen, I am getting out of here. Hey, listen, I appreciate you guys even stopping by saying anything. You know what I'm saying? Really, really. Because like I said, I usually will go live on a Tuesday or Thursday. Today is just a Saturday. When I see one of these people like Marjorie or somebody else, I'm going to just go ahead and do a reaction video out of the clear blue. I don't know who's around. I just feel like talking on it like I did with her. I wish her well. I think the president made a big mistake. Will he recover from it? It'll be old news next week. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. It may not be news until she actually leaves in January. Old news until she actually leaves in January because she's still around. So that might stay in the, it might go in the background, but people, every time they see her, they'd be talking about her leaving. And they're going to be asking the president about, is he going to feel remorse that she's gone? And he probably will say something stupid. I don't have, what, my outro, you telling me, hey, you give me the hook? You giving me the hook or tell you, okay, I can dig it. I don't have any good outro music for this one, only have my sports bar outro music, and I can't play that here. But anyway, I do have some. You know what? Now that you mention it, what do I have available that might fit? You'll make me look for something, could tell you. I do have something. I don't know. I don't have anything political. Anyway, I got, I have a whole bunch of like love stories and stuff. Is this This is my last one. No. Well, I don't want to. I'll just leave. I know you because I was trying to accommodate, but it has to be something that is appropriate for this conversation. Anyway, but I don't have it. What else you got? What else you got for me? Yeah, you know what? The 2025 cleanup, yeah, it wasn't going to be easy, and it's not easy. I think if I had to, until recently, I was giving the president a good, for the first 6 months, I gave him an A, and then it started to fall off because they're not really getting stuff codified. And then, of course, the shutdown hurt everybody, especially the American people. Right, the shutdown was bad, but I agreed with the Republicans that they shouldn't have been extorted to make concessions. Anyway, I do have instrumental, and I'm gonna get out of here. But I have an instrumental jam called "Seize the Moment." I'll play for you guys, and it's all instrumental. And then with that, we'll just say good night. All right, guys. All right, thanks for stopping in. Everybody can tell you, thank you. And everybody else, thank you for stopping in. Our Pain, your favorite baby boomer, over and out. Marriage, politics, and sport. Like, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I go live every so often. Have a good night. Happy Saturday, everybody, whether you agree with me or not.